Real estate is small business. That's the understanding that everything grew from. When you really look at real estate and the capital stack, small business is everywhere inside it. It's the family rented restaurant in the strip mall. It's the barber shop. It's the salon. It's the mechanic. It's the contractors leasing mini warehouse storage or space. It's the local retailer. It's the small manufacturer operating out of existing flex space. These are the businesses filling commercial properties all across America. And in most tenants, they invest in their spaces. They create the traffic. They create the jobs. They serve their communities, and month after month, year after year, they pay structurally increasing rent that helps build equity for the landlord. Surrounding them is another entire layer of small businesses that make real estate work. The brokers, the contractors, the lenders, the appraisers, the inspectors, the attorneys, the accountants, the property managers, and countless others. So real estate is not simply an asset class, it's an economic ecosystem, originally built around family and small businesses, but the deeper issue underneath all of it is ownership. Our focus is both the homeowner and the small business owner, because both are trying to create stability, build equity, and improve what's possible for their next generation. For individuals and families, that American dream, homeownership. A home creates equity. That equity creates financial stability. It can help fund education. It can help start a business. It can become another investment, and eventually it can become something passed to the next generation. The same opportunity should exist for all the small business owners. A business owner may spend 20 or 30 years building a company inside somebody else's property. They create the business value. They create the jobs. They build the customer base, but the landlord builds the real estate equity. And that led me to a very simple question. Why shouldn't more of today's small business tenants become tomorrow's commercial property owners? But there's a larger structural issue behind that question. The commercial industry is doing what it was built to do: maximize rents and increase them when opportunity arises, maximize occupancy, increase net operating income, increase property values, improve the return on capital. That is the business model. And very often the small business tenant is the economic engine underneath it. Now we are seeing a global conversation emerge in housing and affordability, where large pools of institutional capital can compete for desirable regional homes and new construction, moving all or large portions of that inventory into institutional rental portfolios. Which brings us back to the question: who gets the opportunity to own the asset, and who spends their life paying for someone else to own it? We cannot change the past. We cannot reverse decades of appreciation or undo consolidation that has already happened, but we can decide what we build from here. That's why Clark Capital Holdings and SBRE Small Business Realty were created. Not to fight capital, we need capital. Capital builds homes. Capital creates commercial real estate opportunity. Capital funds businesses. Capital funds technology. The question is how that capital is deployed, and whether we can create structures where investors can earn an appropriate return, keeping the capitalist machine moving forward, while also creating more opportunities for families and small businesses to build and own equity themselves. That is the mission. Create equity opportunity for homeowners and small business owners. And it has to be built into a company. It cannot depend on one founder, one project, or one moment in time. Founders eventually disappear. Companies can outlive them. The goal is to build Clark so the mission survives past the people who started it. so that decades from now, the company is still asking the same question. How do we use the capital, real estate, technology, and develop to create more owners? Small Business Realty is the real estate operating side of that mission, but brokerage alone is not enough. Relationships begin much earlier. People need contractors, vendors, lenders, insurance, accountants, service providers they can trust. That's why we created SBRE Connect, the front door of the ecosystem. A place designed to connect homeowners, business owners, consumers with trusted, vetted providers and real estate resources. And once you begin talking about doing that nationally, you need technology. That's why SBRE Global Technologies, or the SBRE Connect platform, exists. It's the technology infrastructure underneath the ecosystem. The data, mapping, matching, automation, communications, and eventually the intelligence that helps us understand where someone is in their ownership life cycle. Someone may first come to us because they need a plumber or a carpet cleaner. We may learn later that they're renting and want to own a home. They may also own a business. Their business may, and probably does, lease its location. A few years from now, commercial ownership may become possible. That is no longer a lead, as a relationship. But then there's another problem. What happens when somebody's ready to own the right property, but the property doesn't exist? A small business may only need 2,000 square feet, but the building's 15,000. Or it was built originally to be permanently held as rentals. Or, as history shows, it was never designed and built for individual ownership to begin with. That means development has to become part of the answer. Smaller units, more attainable ownership structures, commercial condominiums where appropriate. Developments designed around small business ownership. And on the residential side, the same principle applies. We cannot make yesterday's real estate affordable again. Things just go up for real estate. But we can influence what gets built tomorrow, how it's financed, and whether families get realistic opportunity to own it or not. Clark Capital Holdings is the structure intended to bring all of that together. Capital, ownership, governance, real estate, technology, development, and ideally, value created in one part of the organization can help create opportunity in another. Sales, they create revenue. Technology, that creates enterprise value. Properties, obviously, they create equity and cash flow. Development recreates the new assets. Capital gets recycled into more opportunity, more homes, more commercial units, more businesses, more owners. That is the life cycle we're working to create. Not simply accumulating assets at the top, building capital while creating more access to equity farther down the stack. Because ultimately, this is about familial and generational wealth. Ownership, equity, appreciation, cash flow, investment, and time. A family owns a home, they build a business. They own the real estate underneath that business. They invest in another property. They pass those assets forward down the line. That's how one generation can change what's possible for the next. We cannot change what happened before us, but we can influence what we leave behind. That is the dream behind SBRE and Clark Capital Holdings. That's the reason for SABRE, Small Business Realty. That's why we're building the SBRE platform. And it all comes back to the same understanding. Real estate is small business. And our mission to create equity opportunity for more families and more small business owners for generations to come. If this vision resonates with you, we're looking to connect with the right capital partners, individuals, investors, family offices, private investment firms, venture capital, real estate investors, or strategic partners who want to help change the capital stack game back toward ownership, affordability, equity, and the origin of the American dream. Whether your interest is small business realty, SBRE Global Tech and the SBRE Connect platform, the Ring Game, or the broader Clark Capital Holdings vision. Let's start the conversation. Connect with me here on LinkedIn or send me a message. Real estate is a small business, and we're building the companies and capital structure to create the ownership opportunities for the generations that come after Generation X. X just marks the start.